understand our entire society falls apart if we do not know the difference between men and women and sanction the permanent and irreversible harm and sterilization of children. What they're selling is not compassion, it's fear. We are in a battle for reality itself, and we must fight like it, because this war on woke, it has not yet been won. And the good news is that we are winning. Oh my goodness. What a blessing it is to be here, man, to see this, to see you guys standing. Do you realize who you're giving a standing ovation to and for what? You're giving a standing ovation to a girl for merely saying that there are two sexes? That you can't change your sex? That each sex is deserving of equal opportunity, of privacy, and of safety? What an insane world we live in where that is considered brave or courageous. I look out and I see a lot of people who probably share the same sentiments that I do. I mean, just about 3 months ago, when we watched as our friend, a mentor of mine, technically my boss at Turning Point USA, was shot, murdered, assassinated in cold blood, right? It's one of those moments where you'll never forget where you were, the disbelief that you feel initially, the total shock, and then you learn that he had passed away, right? Those feelings of shock and disbelief turn into grief and tearfulness. I'm not proud to say it, but then they turn into anger and rage. How could this happen? How do we live in a world where we're seeing healthcare workers, government employees, school teachers, people in our generation, maybe some of your peers in your classroom who are celebrating the assassination of a father, of two, of a husband. Maybe some of you were at the memorial service, which I will say that was one of the most beautiful displays that I have ever seen, to see so many people, publicly elected officials, proclaim the name of Christ, where thousands in the stadium were watching and millions online. But Erica Kirk, it is hard to describe the impact that her speech had on everyone in the room, including myself. When I heard it, something awakened in me. It was a call to be to do better, to be better, a better wife, a better friend, a better daughter, a better mother, a better follower of Christ. In the hardest moment of her life, Erica chose forgiveness. She forgave her husband's assassin only 11 days after he was murdered in cold blood in front of thousands in person, and where it will live on the internet forever. Only through God can a grieving widow have the heart, the serenity, and the strength to do something so extraordinary. So seeing that, seeing you all, those feelings of anger that I once had, of course, there's still grief there, but I feel hopeful. And I feel optimistic, and I feel inspired. This morning, which this is like true Riley fashion, I had not planned at all what I was going to say when I got on this stage. There's a unique opportunity, of course, I recognize that when you're standing on a stage like this, an opportunity for clarity, for courage, and if we choose it, for real impact. I thought about some of the things that I could mention, some of the wins that we've seen surrounding gender ideology and parental rights and the safeguarding of children under the 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. I thought about talking about some of the work that we still have left to do, because believe me, there is still a lot of that. But after talking with so many of you and hearing some of the other speakers on this stage, I felt compelled to talk about something that I believe is more foundational, something deeper, because there's a demographic of people right now who are desperate, not for slogans, but for the truth. That demographic is young people. I think more specifically, young women, future families. They're being shaped by a culture that has no idea where it's going and no interest in telling them the truth about what actually leads to joy. And so to just share a few things that I've learned over the past few years that feel especially relevant to young people in this cultural moment. First and foremost, most obviously, Benny Johnson said it. It's that gender ideology is an evil lie from the pit of hell. It is a lie that is built on deception. It is built on discouragement. It is built on destruction. And who does that sound a lot like, by the way? It tells people, it's a lie that tells people that they're correct to feel as if they're born wrong, that our Creator made a mistake in creating them. What a horrible message. I say this with a saddened heart. It is tragic that the suicide rate amongst this community is so high, but it's no surprise when we're telling people they're correct to feel as if they're born wrong. That's a horrible message. We should be telling people, children or adults for that matter, that they're born intentionally and uniquely in God's perfect image, and how amazing is it that we have a Creator who doesn't make mistakes. It is a lie that leads to children and adults to castrating and sterilizing themselves by cutting off healthy body parts or injecting themselves with some sort of synthetic or unnatural substance, chasing satisfaction that will never last. And I know as a Christian that the only place we will ever find real satisfaction is when we place our identity in Christ. And it won't be long, by the way, before we look back and call this weird blip of time that we're living in, especially the medicalization side of things, we call that accurately what it is, which is the biggest medical scandal this world has ever seen, and a very profitable one at that. The only thing that I believe to be more sinister than cutting off healthy body parts is prematurely ending a life before those body parts ever even get a chance to develop. If you didn't know, my husband and I, we welcomed a beautiful baby girl into this world just a few weeks ago. Her name is Margot. She is the light of my life and the best thing that I have ever done, bar none. I'll tell you, before becoming a mom, I thought I understood what it meant to be pro-life. I've always had conservative values. More importantly, I always understood that, again, we have a Creator who breathes life and value and purpose into every child in the womb and beyond it. I understood the arguments that pro-lifers made, of course, intellectually. I believed it morally. I could argue it politically. But becoming a mother, which it's still surreal to be able to call myself that, it changed everything. Hearing her heartbeat at that first appointment that you go to, the 8-week appointment, then going to the 20-week anatomy scan and hearing the words, "It's a girl," going through the magical transformative labor and delivery process. Of course, her being here, it proved to me that life, it's no longer theoretical. It was no longer a debate. It wasn't about policy or politics anymore. She's a human being. Small, yes. Dependent, yes. Fragile, yes. But infinitely valuable, placed directly in my care. Motherhood has made me radically pro-life. It has made the thought, the idea, the practice of abortion hurt, like deeply and viscerally. And I think it's because when you experience that kind of love, I know the parents in the room know this, when you experience that kind of love, you understand something that our culture works really, really hard to deny. Life is not disposable. Dependence is not a flaw, and vulnerability is not something to be eliminated. It is something to be protected. Which, by the way, women, you have been lied to for decades through propaganda. To be very, very clear, transgenderism, sexual liberation, and abortion have nothing to do with women's rights. Calling these movements feminism is not only inaccurate, but it's dangerous, it's destructive. Feminism promised empowerment, but you know what it delivered? It delivered emptiness. It sold women the lie that children are burdens, that family is a limitation, and that fulfillment comes from self-centered autonomy rather than self-giving love. Charlie's message, one that he said often on campuses, on his show, right? Get married, have babies, have as many as you can, and as early in your married life as you can. It was so powerful, and it's something that resonated deeply and personally with me, but beyond that, not just because it was what some people would call provocative or outdated or offensive. I believe it was effective because he lived it. It was clear to him that family was the happiest and most meaningful part of his life. And so for clarity, am I saying that every single woman should have children? No, I'm not. I believe it's the most rewarding thing, the most fulfilling thing that we can do as women, so long as you're able, but no one is forcing you into it. Although I will say President Trump is making it easier for families to thrive. He is the most pro-life president in history. Under President Trump, we have seen the defunding of Planned Parenthood, which is an organization that for far too long, you and I, taxpayers, funded, an organization that receives $792 million annually, and what they did with that money, of course, they performed nearly 400,000 abortions annually. They promoted gender ideology. They administered hormones to minors. They supported the Democratic Party politically. So we thank President Trump through this and the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill. We've seen President Trump work to implement economic and tax policies that benefits parents. We've seen the new Trump savings accounts for children. But he recognized that being pro-life, it means more than protecting life inside the womb. It means building a culture that supports women before, during, and after motherhood. Again, President Trump is doing that, and Charlie Kirk did that. He knew that. After Charlie's death, even before Charlie's death, we've seen online voices who would go on to call him everything under the sun, one of those things being a misogynist. That accusation, of course, it's false. Honestly, it's lazy. If you could get yourself to watch past the out-of-context 5-second clip or the out-of-context headline, you'd know that. But I want to tell you that Turning Point USA offers 6 months of paid maternity leave for moms because they recognize that families matter. You would be really hard-pressed to find that anywhere else. So I'm here to say that Charlie Kirk was the worst misogynist ever. These are the same lies, again, that are told about President Trump, right? They call him a misogynist, yet he has done more to protect women's safety, first and foremost by shutting the border, by the way, to protect women's privacy, to protect our rights to equal opportunity. Again, he's done more on that regard than any president, certainly in modern history. And he's appointed more women to his cabinet positions than any Republican president in both his first and second terms. So if their goal was to erase women's rights, as the left claims, then they've done a pretty horrible job. And so to the young people here, I really want to send you a message directly. I recognize that you are growing up in a culture that is really loud, that is confusing, that is deeply contradictory. You're told to chase independence, but you're punished for vulnerability. You're encouraged to reject limits, but given no guidance. You're told that you can be anything, women especially, except for faithful, for feminine, or family-oriented without apology. So my message to you is that you can do those things. You matter, young people in this room. They can't do this. This mission that we're attempting to carry out at Turning Point USA for the conservative movement, for the kingdom of Christ, it cannot be done without you all. If we're going to change the culture, if we're going to win the culture, we need you. Actually, we're relying on you. So I'm here to tell you to be bold, to say the controversial thing, to be courageous. And by the way, courage doesn't always look like this. Like applause, standing on a stage with the microphone in your hand behind a camera. That's not always what courage looks like. Sometimes it looks like standing alone. Sometimes it looks like telling the truth when it would be far easier to stay silent. I also want to tell you guys to challenge authority. Do it respectfully, of course, but don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, so long as it's legal, because you're too young. Reject that. Look at what Charlie Kirk did at such a young age, what he was able to build over many years, and now we're seeing and living and feeling the impact of it. I want to tell you guys to foster unity, focus on defeating the enemy. And when I say defeating the enemy, I'm not talking about the left. Indirectly, maybe I am, but I'm talking about Satan and the power that he has, the real and living power that he has on this earth. And I want to encourage you guys to live a life like Charlie did. He was very clear about the things that mattered in life, right? Get married, have children, build a legacy, pass down your values, pursue the eternal, and to seek true joy. That was his mission. And that mission has now become his legacy, and it's our responsibility to carry it forward. And so when I look out and I see this, again, so many young faces, when I hold our daughter, I see a future worth protecting, a world worth fighting for, a reason to stand firm when it's easier to fold. One day, our little baby, Margot, she will grow up, she will learn who her mom is. And if there's one thing that I hope she learns from watching me, the fight that I've been fighting, we've collectively been fighting, I hope she learns this. First and foremost, that being a woman is not a weakness. It doesn't make you inferior. Really, it's a beautiful thing. I hope she learns that the truth, both in an objective sense, of course, in a biblical sense, is worth defending. I hope she learns that family is worth building and that faith in our Creator calls us, everyday Americans, common sense Americans. Our faith is what calls us to rise. I appreciate you guys. I hope you are enjoying AmFest. It's hard to see some of the different mementos of Charlie sprinkled throughout the speakers on this stage, some of the things that we're seeing in the exhibitor halls. But just know what he built, it will live on so long as we do our parts. I appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless Turning Point USA.